NERDSoul.
Woo! Ha ha! Late ill kid at OneYoungsta, hold it down, bring you the StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, coming with another wonderful episode of Doppio Dope. I am not by myself, of course. I have NERDSoul Light. Say what's up. And a big shout out to Clement Bryant. Say what's up.
It's good.
So we are here to get into the season 2 premiere, which is kind of like a 3-episode premiere because of the way they dropped it, of Doom Patrol. I covered season 1, so I had been looking for someone to cover season 2 with. Season 1 people were already busy this weekend, and I was like, hold up, I know somebody.
You know.
I know somebody who's in the know.
I mean, not in the know, but
who's in those HBO Max streets?
I mean, I have thoughts about HBO Max, but we'll get into that later.
Later. But I was like, yo, man, look, Doppio Dope, we can just do an episode and cover, Doom Patrol. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I already seen it, and I hadn't watched it yet. So, with that said, first impressions, you just finished watching the first 3 episodes. How did you feel about the season 2?
I liked it. I mean, I've always kind of felt that Doom Patrol is one of those shows that like doesn't get enough love. Mm-hmm. Like everyone I talk to is like, oh yeah, it's a dope show, but like it's not like a universally like known show in that case because
it's also behind the paywall. So
right. And DC Universe is a smaller platform. But no, I enjoyed it. I kind of had to kind of parse out the episodes because I just finished watching Alias for the first time, like all 5 seasons of Alias. So I needed to take a second because I knew that Doom Patrol is going to be one of those shows that you get so invested in, and it's so emotional that so I was like, it took me a minute, but like I feel good about the first 3 episodes. Really good.
Word. I watched the first 3 episodes. I feel like they haven't missed a beat, man.
No, they haven't.
I was like, this show is still engaging, and you're like glued to it, and they ain't really even getting into hero stuff. I mean, they are, but you're glued to it because they have spent so much time dealing with who these characters are on the in and the outside.
Right.
How they came together, how they relate to each other. So the moment we get back in, I'm like, yo, I heard the music. I was like, where are we back? And
that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, and I heard
the music. I was like,
we back. And then when we got back into it, because I was wondering how season 2 would go. And once again, with the creativity, man, them being on that little toy platform, and
they kind of took a page out of Ant-Man's book.
Yeah,
we'll get into it, but yeah.
Yeah, but with that, I'm like, yo, it's creative still, and they made sure they addressed or are still addressing your boy Niles.
See, this is what I'm saying.
Sure they addressed.
No, it's like I love Timothy Dalton. He's like one of my favorite actors. Like I feel it's kind of halfway about when he played Bond, when he was Bond. But I remember coming back into him, not really coming back into knowing about him when he was the villain in Chuck. Was it season 3? I think season 4. I can't remember which season it was, but he was a villain, one of the villains in Chuck, and the dude is just really good. And I was wondering how, back in season 1, how they would approach Niles Calder as, kind of approach him, because he's kind of like this Professor X kind of guy that, he looks like all of his motivations are, he's a great guy, he's trying to do all this, he cares about the people around him and the people that he brought together, but there's always been another story about how they came together, why they came together. So I was kind of concerned, and Timothy Dalton, man, he knocks it out the park every time, especially with Niles.
Okay. So with that said, the acting is still there, and Extremely impressive.
Acting. Yeah.
Yeah, extremely impressive. I'm just glad this show is back, and didn't expect to get it back, but I'm glad it's back. I'm glad we back and we here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. We
here. We ready to ride.
Yeah. You good?
So, yeah. So, seeing how much has been sacrificed, where do you think we'll end up when it comes to dealing with the possible sacrifice of Niles, his daughter, and the rest of the team?
I think if this were any other show, you would be like, X, Y, and Z is going to happen.
Yeah.
But you can't with this show because the show subverts your expectations at every turn. Like in season 1, I didn't think they were going to make, Danny on the street this kind of queer kind of character. And I was like, not that I had anything wrong with it, because I thought that was cool. I just I didn't expect it. And I didn't expect that whole kind of breakdown that they did with Negative Man in that episode where he was dancing and he was kind of like, admitting like he was like, he could be queer, he could be with one of these with these people. So I don't think this is a show that you can easily predict what's going to happen.
Okay. For me, I'm definitely on things going to come to a head with this girl. Because they
with Dorothy,
Because, all right, let's go and start talking about some of the characters. This is how I usually formulate my finale reviews. So let's talk about the one, the only, the madman himself, Cliff Steele.
Dude, I gotta say, man,
Cliff Steele has a very good argument.
Yeah.
So my daughter and my relationship with my daughter is expendable, and yours isn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He has a very good argument with that. So all these people died behind your daughter, and we supposed to just accept her with open arms when you ruined our lives for her. Unflinchingly. We were disposable all for her. Do you even have an idea of the level of resentment that would indirectly generate towards her?
Right. I think go ahead.
And then him to be coming around when they were talking about, him and Jane were talking about who was he with to create the monkey girl, and he was like, how about some decency? And I'm glad that Jane was like, you first. You know what I'm saying?
True.
True. Don't be coming in here just because your daughter. You know what I'm saying? Don't be coming in here just because your daughter. Everything's supposed to be fine now.
Right. And the thing is, I think they got to be careful not to blame the daughter, because it's not her fault that Niles did.
Yeah, and I get you. I get you. But sometimes,
they're right.
Sins of the father. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. Exactly. That's why I kind of compare him to Professor X, because that's he's that kind of character.
I mean, Doom Patrol is essentially the X-Men, sort of.
Exactly. I was going to go that way. So it's they're very much in their right, and I think it's interesting to find that Rita is the last person to kind of feel the way that everyone else does.
Yeah. Well, I think Rita felt like that, but Rita didn't want to show it.
Yeah.
I think Rita kind of still sort of felt bad, because he was like, okay, if I pile on, then everybody's piling on him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe I shouldn't, and not really pile on him, not really take up for him, but just kind of stay removed from that particular fight.
Right.
And as we can see, when we came back after the continuinium or whatever.
Oh, dude, we got to talk about that episode.
After coming back from that, your girl was like, nah, gloves is off. Gloves is off now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't playing those games no more.
Right.
But go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're saying everything. You're saying everything. I think, episode 1 is like a good like starting place because it kind of brings you back into the world a little bit. It shows you like, oh yeah, they were shrunken down, and you know the only person that's big is Larry, and so they're tiny, and so they're trying to figure out how to deal with Niles, how to deal with his daughter, and his daughter isn't a normal person. That's the other thing. She has superpowers, and she also, you know, she has deformities. Like we don't know the history of what that was yet. So I hope that that season 2 will tackle that about like her kind of origin a little bit. But no, man, they're very much in the right to feel the way they feel. I will say that I felt bad for Roboman for Cliff when he tried to go
come on.
Her. Oh no.
But
he tried to meet his daughter, and I was like, Cliff, this isn't gonna go right. You can't just like jump back into it like 20, 30 years and be like, oh yeah,
like, hey, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna be happy with my daughter.
And it's like that, and like honestly, and I think at least I kind of see that that life is trying to show like he's not all that dissimilar from Niles. Niles, however messed up he is, Niles was trying to do things for his daughter. Same way that Cliff is doing. So I think it's going to be an interesting dichotomy to see between Roboman and Cliff Steele and Niles Calder.
The biggest difference that we're already seeing is something called informed consent, though. He didn't trick Jane to getting in the bus to go anywhere.
True. And Jane's a whole separate
story.
No
one died to go on the trip to see his daughter.
Right.
Like, this man ruined.
But let's be honest, if they were black, they could have gone a different way.
Well, yeah. But,
just saying.
What is it? Even when you see sort of like Larry and his perspective on it, you know, it's like, you look at this and it's like, we have nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I will say with that first episode, what is it? Fun Size Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna front. Those little pancakes did make a brother hungry. I was like, oh, look at the love.
They made him pancakes. Dude, my boy Larry is just like on another level. I love making
homie was like,
and they still were like, I don't want no damn pancakes. Like, I just want to get big and get to go. But yeah, like I think that was fun. But I gotta say, when you saw the imaginary characters for the first time from Dorothy, that joy freaked me out, especially the one with the like the candle face or whatever.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, what the F? Like, and I'm like, I'm sitting here watching this at midnight in the dark, and I was like, oh no, what the F?
And then she just hopped up on Cliff. He was like,
dude, my boy Cliff is just like, I think he has made up expletives and F words.
Homie's whole dialogue is like,
it's just like
F all the way down.
F all the way down.
But it's like the way he does it is mad funny. Like even like when the cops showed up and they were like, well look, it's his bus. You know, so I guess he can break it if he wants.
It's like, it's my epic bus.
Because even the cop was like, well, I guess it's not a crime because
he's a robot.
His bus.
It's hilarious, man. But yeah, I think where you get into season 2, or not season 2, episode 2, season 2, you know, Time Patrol, dude, that is my favorite episode so far. The immediate bonkers of that episode, and you have this guy. He's like a time figure. I can't even describe it.
And the way, and it's funny because with Niles' small limited information, he's coming at it like, oh, he's so dangerous. He's this, that, blah, blah. It's like, no, he's just some random guy who happened to find powers and is at a roller rink for the rest of his life. Like this, he's not a super villain. He's just a guy.
And I'm just like, what is going on? I'm like, it goes from serious to being like,
I wouldn't have let Rita put them back together. I would have like, oh, let's not rewind all this time.
Right. I don't know what she was doing. I was like, why are you going all the way back? All you got to do is go back to the right before, you know, his brain falls out.
Yeah, it's like, look, keep the brain, and then just transported.
But it's his head. When Niles was like, "Oh, it's a helmet," it's like it's fine, just take it off, and it's like actually
no,
it's his head.
Is his head.
This is his head. I was like, "Oh no!"
That was funny, man. And then of course everybody kind of come into life after it.
Yeah,
that was funny.
And that's all his victims trying to get the helmet.
Yeah.
This is totally ridiculous.
That's one of those things that just like it worked. It worked well where it's like we're back in this world of extreme weirdness that somehow works because you've done so much character development on the other side. Like dealing with Jane. With Jane, the whole thing with the underground. Sure. And they're like, look, stop taking drugs. All right? You know what you're doing. We know what you're doing, and it's time for a change. And seeing them and their back and forth, that's a whole nother issue that she's gonna have to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's just the way they set it up, I'm like, wow. We haven't, because once again, we haven't really gotten into any superhero stuff. And in the first season, we sort of did, like towards the end.
A little bit.
It's not because we're dealing so well with like these people that have sort of been betrayed by this guy that they thought was a friend of theirs, thought was a leader, thought was a mentor. And now they don't know how to pick up the pieces or where to go. And it's kind of like when you said, talking about the X-Men, it's kind of like looking at when the X-Men started looking at Professor X a little differently.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what, maybe it's not, all that glitters ain't gold. Like when Cyclops and Emma took over the school and stuff, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
When they were like, Professor X didn't want all that. Like he was all right, but homie had his secrets, and homie definitely did his dirt.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And but on to episode 3, I did want to talk about seeing the youth through like Niles' eyes was interesting in how close I would consider him to being almost psychotic in a way. Because you see how he responded to the Ripper or, the Jack or whoever.
Red Jack.
You see how he responded? Homie did not shake. And it's like, for you to not even respond to something like that, something's wrong with you. So, and then of course we know that translates into how easily he was able to be like, well, we'll kill his wife and take his daughter from him, and we'll take his brain out of his body. It's all good. Or we'll do this to Larry, or we'll do this to Jane, because he's completely disassociated from any real, I guess you could say, emotion, unless it's his daughter. But
yeah. No, that's pretty much ridiculous at some point, or if it concerns himself. When we talk about spoilers, I guess we should say spoiler for anybody who hasn't really watched it. But
they know this is a review.
But just saying. But like, when he has the pendant that's actually part of his life force. That's been extending his life, and he's not going to give it up in the first episode. But when it comes to it, to make everybody else big, he kind of takes a self-sacrifice, which is kind of noble in a way. It's like but
I don't know if I'm gonna give him
noble.
Yet.
It's like it's noble-ish. I'm looking for
because it's like noble would be if you had nothing to gain. You also got big, and your daughter also got big. So I don't want to hear it. And shouts to Crowley. Yes, his name is Crowley. I don't care what he's called in this show.
Mark Shepard.
His name is Crowley.
What's my man, Mark Crowley?
Because he's Crowley in this too. He's the same guy.
I mean, yeah, he's the same guy. It's just like he's magical now. Well, he's
I'm like,
always
it's
magical.
Crowley.
It's Crowley. It's good. But so it was like you said, there's something messed up with him, the way he doesn't respond to it. And Red Jack actually kind of says that to him.
Yeah.
He actually says, he's like, hey, you could be just like me. Why don't you let me teach you be my apprentice?
Yeah. And we got those nasty wings.
I was like, oh, no. I paused. I was like, oh no. I'm like, dude,
I was like, ah,
I'm eating chicken right now, with
nasty wings,
rice.
boy.
I'm like, I can't do this right now. Um, but yeah, like that whole thing, he's like, it's kind of messed up. I guess I want to touch on like Negative Man's kind of like storyline I think it was like episode 2 to episode 3,
Yeah.
because those are kind of tied directly to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I felt so bad when he was in the barn and he's finding all these letters from his kid. I was
Yeah,
like,
that
oh
was
man.
like, dang. And those are
I
the
was
things
like,
that we get to learn about. Like, I think that we know these characters or these characters' motivation better than maybe any other character from a kind of like mental and emotional standpoint
yeah,
on like many other shows, because we spent so much time with their emotional state, their mental state, and then just seeing how that hit him, because this what is it, the spirit or the power, I can't think of what he calls it, I can't remember, but he's like, yo, look, hey, you need to go back home.
yeah,
And he's like,
yeah,
man, I don't want to go home, why I gotta go back home? And seeing that his son is dead, that he has a grandson he doesn't even know about, and then going and reading those letters that his son was writing to him, it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
And then, the way they throw the swerve at us is at the end of that episode, they got a butterfly coming to me. I was like, oh, word, it's a butterfly, because you see butterflies, you're like, butterflies are happy. So you're like, oh, butterfly, oh, word, it's going to probably lead him to something, some other revelation for his family or something, or a way to connect or something with his son. No.
I was like, oh no,
it's evil.
And, right, and then my man is strung up for basically pretty much all of episode 3, and
yeah,
I felt bad. I felt bad for him because you start seeing his bandage kind of unroll because of what Red Jack is doing, and he's starting. It's not his fault, but he's starting to affect everyone, especially Rita, when she comes in because of because of the radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
So like,
she didn't give up on him.
She didn't. Like, you think they're gonna like hook up, or do you think there's gonna be something? Because I get kind of like these vibes with them.
There was this vibe that I got for a second. I was like, hold up, man. Because it's not like, I assume there's no one in the house that doesn't recognize that, Rita is a nice looking person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I assume that nobody notices that. I mean, that nobody doesn't notice that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But he probably, they're in a weird situation. We're locked in this house together. Well, we're not locked in the house, but we're kind of in this house together. And you don't want to swing and whiff that joint.
Right.
Because then it's like you live with this person.
Right.
But that hug, I definitely thought that was going to be a low mo. But I mean, you got the bandages. You got to kiss the bandages. I mean, I guess what can you do? But speaking of kisses, Macaron Tone, my boy Cy came through.
Yeah, man. I was hoping we were gonna talk about Cy. Like,
yeah. I ain't gonna forget that.
Nah, like,
nice chocolate sister. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, my man Cyborg, like, dude, like next to Negative Man, Cyborg is one of those characters that, like, personally I really connect with, because I think the good thing is that the way that, Ray Fisher in Justice League and Joivan Wade in Doom Patrol, they managed to find the humanity of Cyborg. Yeah, he's part machine, but like, they managed to tap into the anguish of having part of your life taken away through an accident that you weren't really, that wasn't your fault. You were just wrong place, wrong time. And you're trying to work through it. And I appreciate the fact in season 2 that they brought him to kind of this therapy group. Yeah. And I really, really was surprised that they went there with him like that. So,
and the moment with him kind of showing mercy or giving second chances, because that was another thing that they revealed. Even the conversation with the young girl about not everything being tied to my service, but then when she stops the mugger, he's like, cool, I got the cops on the way. And she's like, whoa, you know, like ease up. And he's like, well, dude got like 3 priors. This will be his like 4th chance or 3rd chance or whatever he said. I think he said 3rd chance.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, let's give him a 4th chance or something like that. She was like, but you know, when you think about stuff like that, when you think about even now, the way neighborhoods and stuff are policed, you do have to think, you know, many times when we're involved with something, do I need to call the police? Because the police are a hammer. That's it. They don't know how to do anything with any finesse. They don't know how to do anything else. And hopefully we'll be able to deal with that on a whole nother thing. There's a whole nother video, but we'll be able to deal with that properly and promptly.
Right.
But, you know, you do have to wonder, especially depending on the person, are the cops necessary? Can we show mercy now? And how much of being a hero is giving second chances and showing mercy? You know, being a hero isn't always just like lock them up, throw them in jail. You know, sometimes hero is seeing someone, meeting them where they are and being like, yo, look, I know where you come from. I know how it is. And I know you feel like there aren't any options. I'm not going to be here to pile on you. You know, I'm going to try to give you another chance to, you know, to get out of this. You know what I'm saying? Now, I mean, of course, there's a whole nother argument about socioeconomics and, you know, what does the other chance mean if he doesn't have any money to root himself in the situation? That's a whole nother thing.
Right.
but having someone to show that mercy, having someone to give that other opportunity is something that's huge. And actually, that's something that when I was asked about what I want to see in the second Miles Morales movie, I was like, well, in the second movie, he'll be a little bit older. And I was like, I don't care. You can swap any villain in and out of this. But what I want to see from him is now that he's taken that leap of faith, now that he's stepped out there, I want him to learn a hard lesson about heroism. You know, maybe it's who to trust or when to give mercy, when not to give mercy. What is saving somebody, and do we weigh or balance the scales of life between each other? Meaning, like, do I save these 10 people or do I save this 1 million and 10 people? You know, a lesson that works with any villain. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially when it comes to the mercy side, because just like villains, heroes have a lot of power. And I mean, Cyborg not only has super strength, he also has the ability to turn his arm into cannons and stuff. He can read everything on the internet. He has huge and vast amounts of power and reach.
Right.
With that power, not only does it come, you know, responsibility, but should it not come with a level of mercy, a level of understanding? You know, should it not? You know, those are things that you should have to figure out. And I think with him figuring those things out, it makes for compelling storytelling. You know,
and I gotta say, the one thing during that conversation, they're talking like they hit on being black and being policed. That's exactly what that conversation was about. And I was surprised that they wrote Cyborg in a way Cyborg didn't think about, because he's also black. He's also black. And he didn't think about the fact of, oh yeah, this could just be a young black kid because he doesn't have anything else and he's trying to do what he can to make ends meet. He didn't think about that. He didn't think about the policing. So he's so caught up in being a hero that he forgets
and
baseline facts of being black.
There's this extra level.
Right. He forgets that he's like a black man. He's still a black man.
Yeah, so like, he's still black.
You're still black, bro. So, and you know, not to say that I'm not getting on the fact that, you know, shoehorning race in here, because that was part of that conversation.
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the.
That was part of it. But even you know, homegirl in her, I think her name was Roni. It was a very interesting relation. It's not even a relationship. It's a kind of a flirtation kind of vibe that's going on.
Yeah.
And I think the one part that got me was when they were, you know, together and they were, you know, about to, you know, let's just say they're about to have sex, they're about to do whatever they do. She actually has a moment of vulnerability and shows her what happened with her in the military. all the scars on her back and the chest, like, wow. And I really hope that one, they continue building on this relationship, but also two, it kind of shows Sai that, hey, there's other parts of being a hero and other parts of being human that you still have to learn.
Yeah, and that's why I agree with you. I hope that I really do hope that they end up bringing her back for more. She gonna have some explaining to do because homie was at the diner, man. He was at the diner trying to have something deep, a real relationship with you. You hated him. But we let it slide. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see.
Because he is training someone on being a hero, and inside of that training someone, he finds out, oh, there's still more for me to learn. Even though we have fought the god level cockroach, and
Mr. Nobody,
essentially someone who has in Mr. Nobody. Someone who has the power to sort of create just about anything and affect just about anything, after being on that wild ride, still being like, well, no, you're not ready yet.
Right.
You're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I like the fact that he didn't, they had a discussion, and I can't remember who said this, but having a discussion or a discourse or even a disagreement, but they didn't disconnect. And I like that. So it wasn't something like, oh, well, I hate you too, bye. You know what I'm saying? And just like,
which is where I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. They ended up still being able to engage with each other on an intellectual level about this issue, and then still have a relationship going forward after that.
Right.
Because guess what, guys? That's what being adult isn't about. Or being adult is about.
Talking through things, right.
It's about being able to be like, yo, we don't agree, but I'm not going to be like, you're canceled because I don't agree. Or be like, it's like, hey, all right, we don't agree on this, but let's still engage. Let's not complete. I mean, there's some stuff that is just egregious, I understand. But when it's something like this in this episode where it was just a difference of opinion, where he wasn't completely seeing like, oh, on a community, on a systemic level, oh, so this isn't just crime due to time. This is like, oh, I got to think of a whole host of other issues when particularly dealing with this person. So I thought that was dope.
And and just we'll say one last thing. I think the way that he was able to kind of humble himself for her.
Yeah.
Because he's coming off thinking he's big bad cyborg and blah blah blah, coming late to therapy, and in a way she makes him humble himself. Yeah. And as a hero, that is one thing. As a hero, you have to learn how to humble yourself. Spider-Man, Miles, even Tony Stark. Stark is a good example. Sometimes you got to humble yourself to see what the bigger picture is going on, because you can inadvertently.
On the DC side, Superman is probably the best example. I mean, you have a being that could essentially subjugate just about everybody on the planet. That's an ego that you definitely have to keep in check, as shown in a show like The Boys, which you guys, if you follow the show, you know how I feel about The Boys, but it's still an example of that.
Yeah. Wait, you don't like The Boys? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I didn't think it sucked, but I think people hyped it up too much for me.
We'll talk about it.
We'll get in that later.
We'll talk about it. Later.
But I want to get, until we get back into just general stuff, I did want to focus in on, of course, the girl, the monkey girl, the one and only Dorothy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted to call her Dora.
I mean, that haircut, but Yeah.
But Dorothy.
Yeah.
When we meet her, because I forgot about her because I didn't watch, even though I have the Blu-ray, I didn't watch the finale before watching these 3 episodes. So I forgot about her. And then when they showed her, I was like, oh yeah. And even though I feel bad for what she went through, I was also of the mind of, you're the reason we went through, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
but again,
like I said,
it's not her fault though.
Yeah. Oh, they trying to get us, y'all. They trying to take us down. But
Can't be playing with that.
kind of like I was saying, that stuff bleeds into your relationship with her, because you're like, once again, communication would have fixed all of this. But, you know, you have this situation where you see her getting beat up. She's in the old kind of carnival stuff, and they're throwing stuff at her. They're beating her up. There's some pedophile dude that makes a sexual remark at her. But then you know she has the same. You see, she has the same power Ma Dukes. You're like, oh snap! She got the wildebeest too, or whatever. But then you realize she has more.
Yeah.
And maybe her mom had more. We just didn't get time to know. But she got more. And we don't get to see what happens outside of the wildebeest until like episode 3 or something.
When you start to see like
perspective.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just say it right now. I'm gonna give it to you, but yeah, that girl is gonna have to be dealt with, because that Wishmaster or whatever, I'm just calling the Wishmaster right now, which is a good and also terrible horror film trilogy. Unless there's more than 3. But Wishmaster is not going away. I'm just letting all y'all know.
No,
I got a feeling he's not going away.
And all of them are kind of like, as much as she's a little girl, everyone, Niles, every one of them are like, we need to handle this, because if not, no matter how we feel about Niles, this girl can inadvertently mess up the world. So, and it's like,
if she was to give in to any kind of urges or something like that,
or if she was manipulated,
True.
You know, and we have, you know, Willoughby, you know, Crowley, your guy, whatever, right there. So, you know, whatever the direction of season 2 takes, or say, you know, at the end of episode 3, Jane gets locked up in the underground.
Yeah.
What happens if one of her personalities tries to? Right. So there's, like I said, you can't predict the way the show moves. So they're gonna. I hope they don't kill her, but at the same time, they're gonna have to figure out a way of being like, yo, what are we doing here? And I think if they do
Doom Patrol, she might be dead.
I think if
Doom
they kill her,
this ain't ABC.
I'll say this. Now that it's more I think about it, I think if they kill her, it's going to be Clint that kills her.
Ooh.
Now that I think about it,
that would be an interesting. That would be an interesting play.
Because it's like
relationship,
right? Because it's like Niles took his daughter away from him, quote unquote. How I'm going to take your daughter away from you? Oh, I'll be the first one to kill this girl. Bye. Yeah. Like,
because I remember an episode, or I remember there was a run of not X Factor but X Force when they had resurrected Apocalypse into the body of a little boy. And everybody was like, oh, well, he's a little boy, you know, nature versus nurture, all this stuff. Maybe we can change him. Maybe he doesn't have to grow up to be. And Deadpool straight up's like, clap, clap. Like, can we go home?
And
he's like, clap, clap, we out.
Right.
Like, I don't got no time. This is a dumb argument to have. We know he's dangerous. I ain't trying to wait 20 or 30 years to see if this works out. No. All right? And after seeing, I think once they see the Wishmaster, because they haven't seen it yet, I think once they see it, they might be like, look, she gotta go. I don't care how many barrettes or bows you put in her hair, she gotta go. Baby Damien gotta go.
And I was gonna say, and I'm not trying to bring up anything of, you know, joking or racial tension or, you know, something that was traumatic, but it's a question of baby Hitler. couple years
Oh
ago,
yeah,
baby Hitler,
yeah. There's all those people that were talking about baby Hitler jokes and stuff.
well, yeah, and I'm not making a joke about it, but it's like that same concept of if you had a chance, knowing what this man was going to be, would you kill the baby or would you let him live? And it's a whole thing of nature versus nurture, and so
see, this is that on steroids, because with something like an argument could be made for the baby Hitler thing, like, well, what we could do is just make sure that we always keep kind of like Secret Service on standby, keep tabs on him through his life, whatever. Her power, you would have to essentially have like the X-Men on standby for the rest of her life. After seeing the Wishmaster, you'd have to have, since I won't say X-Men because we're in DC, you'd have to have like Dr. Fate on hand at all times.
All the time.
You know what I'm saying? Just
Dr.
in
Fate,
case.
like,
and he's got things to do. You know what I mean?
Right. And
he's a busy man.
Right. And let me say, like, let me just clarify my statement about baby Hitler. I just like, I'm not trying to take real life and compare it to fiction. Just gotta say it. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, in knowing when you have the Wishmaster guy, but also you have Antlers, you have the Spider guy, whatever. And so they're all destructive in their own way. So, like, you know, if it was Cliff, you know, that might be predictable. But even if it's not Cliff, the only other realistic person that I could see would be Larry. Because Larry...
And then you do have those people saying, what was it? They said, which girl inside of Jane, they said they know what the girl needs or something like that.
Miranda. I don't think we've met Miranda yet, but like, Miranda's the one that knows what Kay needs. Yeah. So I like, and because like, and we see Larry he's not as outwardly mad about things with Niles as the rest of them are.
Like he's compartmentalized it.
And because they teach him in the military how to compartmentalize, that could be his thing, and he knows how to do it. But like when he gets his family man, it'll be interesting to see like what they do, and like I have no idea. But I will say in the next episode 4, my boy Flex Metallo comes back.
Oh, Flex is back.
Yeah, Flex is back in the preview. So I was
shouts to Flex.
He goes in the preview. He goes, I don't pump, I flex. And I was like, So I'm like, really looking
that
forward
episode
to
where he was like, "All right, word, cool, we gonna get out, we gonna teleport. Hold up, give me a second." He was like, everybody had their arrival moment. That joke was very hilarious. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's my bad."
He's like, "I placed the wrong muscle."
He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
So Flex Metallo's coming back. So I like anybody that's not watching the show. I gotta say, man, you gotta watch the show because this may be one of the best. This might be one of the best superhero shows that like people ain't watching. This, and I know, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is out there. I know they got their crew. I actually haven't watched it yet. I do a season review, so I'll catch up on it by the time the season's over. You should watch. This week's episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. was really good.
Because usually I do the season the run back with Arcatron, so I'll catch up and watch it by that time.
You should watch it. Yeah,
this show is
it's the writing on the show is
good,
and it's like I can't watch the show without feeling something. It's like I can't watch the show without feeling happy or sad or just like wanting just to bawl because
it's like it does a good job of getting you riled up in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and the writing is like I don't think I've ever seen a show that manages to tackle so many different tones. You have the comedy tone, you have the family element, you have just the weirdness of the world building, the fact of you had last season of the finale, you had pretty much a mouse and a cockroach going at it. Like
you had a mouse and a cockroach kissing each other.
Like,
then
that was weird.
The people had to get out by hiding inside of a ram or something.
Yeah.
And then the ram had to puke them out. And then it's all
like,
of this weird stuff. But inside of it, inside of that season 1, you get to see why Jane uses all those puzzle pieces in the intro. Yeah. Which is like heartbreaking. And then you see like the deeper you go in her mind and stuff.
Dude, like, crazy. And it's emotion and the writing, and when you talk about, you know, Jane's episode of like discovering like who the personalities are and everything like that. You're talking about this show tackles PTSD, racism, queerness, being queer, LGBTQ, you know, non-binary gender fluidity. It tackles issues of family, hating your family, loving your family, you know, time lost. It tackles so many things, but it just every episode
it does it in a way that's mature while keeping the levity. So it's like you feel that hurt that they feel, and you understand what they're going through, why they're going through it, and why they feel that way. And they do it in a way that's not like after school specialish. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So yeah, man, dope show.
It's very
Can't
earnest.
wait till next week? Whenever
Thursday.
Thursday. So can't wait. We'll be back on it. I don't know, end of the season or something. We'll figure out something. But we'll be back to talk about it. With that said, to my right here, we have right, left, depending on how they turn it. Right. Clement Bryant, say what's up.
What's good? You can find me Twitter, Instagram at Clement Bryant. You know, any shout outs, any thoughts about Doom Patrol, you know, season 1 or season 2, hit me up. Happy to talk about it. And you know, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll be talking more after Comic-Con at home, and also DC fandom.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see what's going on,
guys. NERD, SOUL, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. Until next time, don't forget to hit me up on Spotify for that music, podcast, all that jazz. And of course, hit us down below. Let's talk some Doom Patrol. So you ready to go? Yeah. All right. So thank you for chilling. From us to you, we're just saying peace. Peace.